Under the tyrannical shadow of Dongjua, Luoyang, the capital city in the late Eastern Han Dynasty, lay in despair. In the residence of Minister Wang Yun, the songstress Diao Chan sat before her mirror, a cloud of sorrow hanging between her brows. Since Wang Yun had taken her in, she had witnessed the plight of displaced people and the bloody power struggles of the court, and the seeds of national salvation had long been sown in her heart. One night, Wang Yun sighed deeply in the darkness. Diao Chan quietly knelt in the corridor. "If my lord trusts this humble servant," she said softly, "I am willing to share your worries." Wang Yun gazed into the steadfastness in her eyes and finally revealed his grand plan, to use Diao Chan as bait to sow discord between Dongjua and Lu Bu. The next day, Wang Yun invited Lu Bu to a banquet at his mansion. Diao Chan stepped forward gracefully, carrying a golden tray. As her silken sleeves fluttered, the jade cup in Lu Bu's hand clattered to the ground. She lowered her gaze and curtsied, the pearls in her hair swaying gently with her movement. "General's valor has long been known to this humble girl," she murmured. Lu Bu stared into her eyes, as limpid as autumn waters, his throat tightening, forgetting to reply. 3 days later, Dongjua accepted an invitation to a feast. When Diao Chan offered him wine, her fingertips trembled slightly. Dongjua narrowed his eyes. "Why does the beauty tremble?" he asked. She leaned forward to pour the wine, her voice tinged with a sob. "I often hear that the Grand Tutor cherishes the people like his own children, yet the common folk say, better to meet a fierce tiger than encounter Dongjua's soldiers." Dongjua paused, his gaze meeting her tearful eyes. Suddenly, he burst into laughter and reached out to pinch her chin. "Tomorrow, you shall return to my residence with me. I will show you what true peace looks like." Beneath the willow branches bathed in moonlight, Diao Chan gently plucked the strings of her zither by the phoenix pavilion. Lu Bu approached, his hand on his sword hilt, the hem of his robe stirring a gust of wind, causing a string to snap with a zing sound. "Chaner, are you unwilling?" He grasped her wrist, his eyes swirling with anger and heartache. Diao Chan remained silent, tears streaming down her face, then suddenly looked towards the distant lights. The Grand Tutor said, "He wants to make me his consort." Lu Bu abruptly drew his sword and slashed at the stone table, sending fragments flying. Just then, the sound of jade pendants jingled behind him. Dongjua stood under the eaves, leaning on his golden staff, his gaze shifting from the tear stains on Diao Chan's face to the swaying tassel of Lu Bu's sword. "What is the meaning of this?" His voice was like ice. The veins on Lu Bu's hand gripping the sword stood out, but as his eyes met Diao Chan's pleading look, he abruptly turned and left. That night, Wang Yun knocked on Lu Bu's door. "The tyrant Dong summoned me today," he said, his voice low. "He said he intends to betroth Chaner to you." Before he could finish, Lu Bu was already rushing out the door, sword in hand. Diao Chan stood in the back hall of Dongjua's bedchamber, listening to the shouts and the clash of metal from the front hall, her fingernails digging deep into her palms. With a loud bang, the palace door was kicked open. Lu Bu stood there, covered in blood, cradling Dongjua's lifeless body in his arms. His gaze fell upon her pale face. "Chaner," he said, his voice hoarse, "from now on, no one will ever force you again." Diao Chan met his gaze and suddenly smiled, a smile that held relief, bitterness, and a complex emotion that others could not understand. In the months that followed, Lu Bu led Diao Chan in battles across the land. Before the White Gate Tower, he gently stroked her hair. "If we are defeated in this battle," he said softly, "you will." "I followed the general here," Diao Chan replied, her voice resolute, "I will naturally follow the general in death." She inserted a jade hairpin into her hair as the bugle calls of Cao Cao's army drew near in the distance. As the firelight painted the sky crimson, she suddenly remembered the day she first met Lu Bu, and the light reflected in his eyes was clearly more fervent than the flames. The storm clouds passed, leaving behind only the sigh of a beauty. Later generations only knew that Diao Chan used her beauty to bewitch the villain, but they did not know that in this chaotic world, she was merely using her own means to play the sharpest piece on the chessboard of men.